And welcome to another edition of Investing in Community, where we cover the amazing organizations, events, and today, elections and politicians that are happening around the county. My name is Marc Cuniberti. I'm a host of Money Matters on KVMR FM radio and financial columnist for the Union. And I'm here with the lovely Joy Porter.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here at the Capitol where we're actually interviewing Senator Ted Gaines.
We're going to cover some of the issues that he's for and some that he may be against, and also his bid for State Board of Equalization in the upcoming election. So it's going to be a great time. Why don't we go inside the Capitol and check it out?
Sounds good, let's do it. Hi, I'm Joy Porter, and we're at the State Capitol today with Senator Ted Gaines. Senator, thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We want to dive right in and talk about some of the hottest topics that our constituents are looking at.
Sure.
And one of them is the sanctuary state. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, I carried a piece of legislation repealing the sanctuary state law, and primarily because I believe it's unconstitutional that there are certain duties that are performed by the federal government and other duties that are performed by a state, like the state of California. And when it comes to immigration issues, those are federal issues, federal powers, and therefore to make the state a sanctuary state is in violation of federal law and the Constitution, in my opinion. So I carried the legislation to repeal it. I think there ought to be coordination and cooperation with federal agents on immigration issues. They ought to be allowed access into our county jails. That if there is an illegal felon that has committed a heinous crime, that they ought to have access to that individual, and whether that is dealing with them in terms of deportation or some other method, that ought to be accessible to them.
So also there was this, there's a bill for the tax savings that I would think that nobody would actually vote against, but there is a strong resistance for this. So along with the 529 plans, detail that tax bill and some of the support and resistance that you've received.
So maybe I could talk about Senate Bill 1218.
Sure.
And that does have to do with the 529s. So it's an opportunity for parents to deduct money that's being set aside for college education for their children. And we did have to take amendments for it, because what we really wanted to do is match what you can do at the federal level at the state level, and that would have allowed up to $20,000 in deduction of income that's being put into a 529 plan. But going through committee, I had to compromise in order to move the bill forward, and so it got reduced to $3,000 for an individual single parent household, or $6,000 for a joint household. So it's still alive though, and it's moving forward, and I'm hopeful that we can get it on the Senate floor and get it signed by the governor. We'll see.
Now, there's other provisions in that tax bill that that would save your constituents a significant amount of money, is there not?
There are. I'm working on other pieces. I've got a package of bills that we've been working on. Yes.
So describe that for us.
We had one that allowed for the standard deduction to be increased by $1,500 for an individual, or $3,000 for a married couple. That's in committee, and so we'll have to see if it gets out of committee or not. I had another proposal for corporate tax that would be reduced by. I think the current rate is 8.84, and we reduce it to 6.84, and about a 20% reduction on corporate taxes that I think would be very helpful in terms of job creation, profitability, entrepreneurship. We make it very difficult for businesses to thrive here in California, especially small businesses.
That I know.
Small businesses and
that
startups,
I know.
right?
That I know.
And so, we're talking about a minimum wage that continues to go up annually.
Sure.
we're talking about minimum tax that needs to be paid if you're a small corporation, a number of other regulations that make it difficult to have a brick and mortar location. So, for instance, if there's a violation of anything that has to do with an individual trying to access a property, you could run into litigation for, say, a handicap ramp or anything of that nature. And those are all important, and we want to respect the needs for those who are handicapped, but at the same time, it seems to me there's ways to remedy that without basically hijacking a business and holding them hostage.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of progress we need to make. I think the corporate reduction in tax would just help accelerate growth in the state of California. The tax cuts that we're seeing from the Trump administration have been very helpful. Not everybody's benefiting here in California because we are a high tax state, so you're not getting that full deductibility. But that tells me it's really sending a message that we ought to be looking at how can we reduce taxes in the state.
Sure.
You know, so you don't have, so that's not such a big issue in terms of deductibility on your federal return. And
do you find the pushback party segmented? I mean, you're seeing one side of the aisle fight for and one side of the aisle fight against?
I think in a broad sense, yes. But I'm always trying to work with Democrats across the aisle.
There you go.
That might be like-minded.
Sure.
And so in the case of the 529 legislation, I had to trim it down, but it didn't get killed in committee. And so I'm looking for those opportunities where, you know, maybe we're moving the ball a yard at a time, but it's not a touchdown.
Right.
But we're providing some relief for California small business owners.
Sure.
Why are we allowing so many foreign students? I think it's more of a financial decision, because they can charge triple the tuition when in fact we have tax-paying lower class and middle class individuals that have been paying their whole career
And we can't get in.
to try to get their kids into their
in.
university.
It really is. It's been hard for us too. It's just very difficult to see the amount of people that are coming in from overseas that are getting in, and I can't get a straight A student into a top quality school.
So that transitions us over to the gas tax, SB1, and I understand you did not support that.
No.
So talk to us a little bit about that, the impact and where that money is actually going.
Yeah, so, well, the state of California, we know, is one of the most taxed states in the nation.
It is.
Whether it's, you know, business tax or personal income tax or gas tax. And to see a proposal move forward to increase our gas, diesel, and vehicle registration fees when we had money that was allocated by statute that was supposed to be spent specifically for transportation maintenance or road construction, just blows me away that we wouldn't be spending that money from day one in the right way. So we can take a look, for instance, for those that own a pickup truck or a truck, there's a weight fee that's paid. And that weight fee is directed, I think, by Prop 42. That money is supposed to go directly to road construction. Well, my colleagues across the aisle and the governor have diverted that money. $1.1 billion a year for the last 5 years or so. So here we're looking at $5 to $6 billion of money that should have been going to road construction while our roads are crumbling. And the my colleagues across the aisle come up with a proposal to increase your gas taxes and your vehicle registration
to potentially not be used what it was originally designed to be used for. Again.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
That's frustrating.
That's very frustrating. And, you know, the majority party has the ability to set the agenda, you know, and the agenda could be transportation, but that's not their agenda. Their agenda is to expand other programs and not kind of do what I would consider the basic duties of government, and that is providing a good infrastructure and public safety. Are kind of the probably public safety would be number one in my mind, and then infrastructure would be number two, and then a good tax policy, so it all kind of comes together. But it has not been their priority, and so we had the Prop 30. Remember, the income taxes went up with Prop 30, and then that was supposed to be a temporary tax, and then that went to a vote of the people, and now it's been extended for another 12 years. So we have the highest income taxes in the nation, and now we're saying, we really don't have enough money. Well, we need to take more money out of a family's pocketbook, or a single individual's pocketbook, and spend it on transportation. And even in its best form, even if they spent every dollar the way they said they would, only 70 out of 100 cents, 70%, is actually going to transportation. The other 30% is going to parks or
somewhere,
whatever.
Yeah,
and
whatever.
So I think that's a misrepresentation. So I've been very supportive with repealing the gas tax. There was a huge grassroots effort down in Senator Newman's district. The constituents were very frustrated and upset that he had gone up on that gas tax vote. And that spurred a recall effort that I think is happening in June, and then also an effort to, let's see if we can repeal this tax, and it really ought to be decided by the people. So the ones that are affected, that are having to pay up and above what are already high taxes in California, let them decide. So we think it's qualified, but that still remains to be seen. From what I'd heard, 900,000 signatures have been gathered. They're going to need 750,000 to qualify, roughly. And so they're going through that process right now. If it qualifies, it'll be in the November ballot.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's an
That's
opportunity for citizens, if you're fed up
I think a lot of people
with the
are
costs,
fed up.
and I think it crosses party lines. I don't think it matters what party affiliation you're with. If you're having to pay, $400 or $500 or $1,000 more a year, depending on the usage of your vehicle.
Right.
That's a big deal.
And the price of,
and
price
even
of gas right now is going up as we speak.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's
That's
over
right.
$4 again.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, and also just being in the rural community, and a lot of people do commute down here.
That's right.
And it's, I think, a lower income than the Sacramento Valley area in most cases.
Yeah.
So that's a huge burden for the
You're
rural
right.
community.
Yes.
So yeah, I
That's
think
my
both
Senate
sides are
district.
frustrated. I know.
A lot of it's rural, and so
Right.
people are traveling long distances to get to and from work, and that's their only mode of transportation.
Right.
And here we are jacking up their registration fees, gas and diesel. I'm completely opposed to it, and hopefully the voters will speak in the right fashion, and it'll go. It'll be successful, meaning that it would have to go back on the ballot to the people for a vote, and it would take a 2/3 vote to pass it.
Okay.
So.
And finally, I saw you on the ballot. You're running for the State Board of Equalization,
Yes.
so congratulations.
Yes.
So some might be wondering, I think you have another 2 years term left here.
Yes.
But if you are successful there, tell us what happens and why you decided to go there.
Yes, I just see the Board of Equalization as an opportunity to use my current skill set, which really derives from being, I'm a small business owner, and having to survive in a California business environment that's really challenging. You've got to be nimble to be successful here in California. And so really using that skill set and just my philosophy that government is not always the solution, and more taxes are not the solution, that we have enough revenue. We don't have a revenue problem in California. So let's make sure through the Board of Equalization that people or businesses are being treated in a fair fashion. That's all I'm looking for. I just make sure people are not, that the strong arm of the government is not coercing people or businesses to go down a path for which they have no control over.
Would it be safe to say that your petition for that is because that is the conduit where the bureaucracy would go after funds, is through the State Board of Equalization?
Yeah, and there's evidence that that's happened historically, that you would get that members of the board would get calls,
right,
from the administration that, hey, we need the revenue.
We need more money.
Yeah, we need the revenue. So, that's disturbing to hear that. I hope that didn't happen, but that's what I'd heard. The sort of pressure that I think is going to continue with the state of California with its huge pension obligation that is not fully funded. I think it's around 70%. And so 70% of hundreds of billions of dollars is a big price tag. So the latest number we've heard was $300 billion obligation for CalPERS pensions, and it's increasing. So even in a growing economy, we're seeing an additional tax revenue coming into the Treasury. The obligations for the pensions are growing. So now the proposal in the form of this initiative is that we're going to take all commercial property and it's going to be subject to annual assessment and increased taxes. And the proponents of this idea have said it'll raise about $11 billion initially, and then it probably goes up each year, right? And that they've gathered already half the signatures. And let's say you had a small delicatessen and you were audited and there was a challenge as to whether you were collecting the right amount of sales tax, whether it was inside sales or outside sales.
Right.
A lot of those cases came forward. You didn't have to hire an attorney. You didn't need a taxpayer advocate. You could present your case to the BOE. And in some cases, they show mercy and give you a break. And that's the way it ought to work out. Now all that sales and use tax is being put into a new bureaucracy created through this legislation. And then there's a second entity set up that's a 3-judge panel to hear appeals, but the judges are all appointed by the governor. And so, it's pretty obvious that those judges are going to have the philosophy of the governor. And if the governor is to try to extract as much revenue for the Treasury,
it's going to be a lot of lost
we know what's
cases,
going to happen with those cases.
Well, we thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate spending this time with us.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Joy, that was an honor to be here at the state capitol on 10th Street in Sacramento and interview Senator Ted Gaines.
Yeah, he's quite the gentleman. So it was a great time and great interview, and just to understand his heart and where his passion is. So enjoyed being here today.
Covered a lot of the important issues, and he's running for State Board of Equalization, so we've learned a little bit more about that position as well.
Absolutely.
So that does it for another edition of Investing in Community, where we cover the amazing organizations, events, and elections happening around us. If you'd like to send me an email, do so at moneymatters@kvmo.org. My name's Marc Cuniberti.
I'm Joy Porter.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.